Hello there, it's Nika Smith, and I'm here to help you track down your formerly enslaved ancestors. One of the first sets of records that I suggest that people look at are Civil War pension files. The reason why is because the veteran usually listed the name of their former slaveholder when they enlisted. And if they didn't list it then, you can get this information from their pension file. When the Department of Pensions sent out an examiner, they would go around and interview witnesses to corroborate the claims of the person who was applying for the pension. And a cadre of witnesses would come in and provide their statements verifying or perhaps not verifying what the pensioner or potential pensioner claimed. Usually the witnesses would say who the former slaveholder was of the pensioner or the veteran. Sometimes they would also include that information for themselves. So, see if you can find any veterans in your family. It doesn't necessarily have to be somebody who actually was directly related to you. It could be someone who was married into the family, or perhaps a close friend or associate of your family. You really just don't know. But see if you can find those veterans, because their Civil War pension files are gold. 1870 census. This census took place 5 years after slavery was abolished, and usually folks will tend to be in the location that they were in before they were emancipated. This isn't always foolproof though. A lot of folks moved around. They were trying to gain their footing as free people, having rights and privileges, so to speak, within their country. If you look at the township, look at the county, state, location, so who was living around them, looking at different surnames, family groupings that were there, they can provide you with huge clues as to who a former slaveholder was. Here's the thing though. Using the method of the nearest white person doesn't always work. Sometimes that former slaveholder had passed away well before the 1870 census. Perhaps the land that was owned there that your ancestors may have worked on, it changed hands and it wasn't in the hands of a former slaveholder, maybe someone from the north who came down and got that land after the war was over. It could be a number of different things. Maybe it's named after the former plantation that was there. There's a lot of different clues that lie in the 1870 census. Oral history. A lot of families have passed down the information about their ancestors who were enslaved and who enslaved them. Ask around, see if someone maybe heard something, or maybe they had a suspicion. Whatever it is, follow that lead. Here's the thing though, don't cling to it too tightly because it may be disproven. If you have oral history, see where the lead leads you, and maybe you might actually be able to trace your family through slavery with that information. Another set of critical records when it comes to tracing your formerly enslaved ancestors are deeds and conveyances. And these are kept at the local level, the county or the parish courthouse, and they document transactions between different parties. See who your ancestors may have had business dealings with following slavery. It may be the former slaveholder or the former slaveholder's family. The other thing is, if you have a very good lead on a former slaveholder, there's a huge possibility that you can find your family members in deed records before the war ended. And unfortunately, you're going to see people's names associated with dollar values transacted between two different people. That would then allow you to have the ability to trace back another slaveholder by finding these transactions in deed and conveyance records. The only potential problems with this is the fact that maybe the county or parish courthouse was burned at some point and the records just don't exist for that time period, but you don't know until you actually go and try to find it. Probates and successions. And what these are, they detail the process after someone who has died, and they detail the holdings that the person had, when it comes to their property. And unfortunately, this includes people. There will be a will potentially, if the person died with the will. If they didn't die with the will, the term intestate will be mentioned, and it will list who the property goes to. A lot of times you will see that slaves went from the deceased to their children or to whoever they left them to. You'll also see inventory of slaves or inventory of property. So right next to the feather beds, the gun, the bales of cotton, hogs, cattle, you name it, are the names of people and their dollar value associated with them. It's painful to look at, but it does confirm your ancestors during that slavery time period. The other thing is, don't neglect looking for successions and probate records for your family members after slavery was over. there may be clues within those documents that actually go back to who the potential former slaveholder was for your family. Lastly, don't forget about the Freedmen's Bureau. If you're able to track back to an ancestor who lived during the Reconstruction time period, you have a huge fighting chance of being able to find them in the documents of the Freedmen's Bureau, whether it's a labor contract, a letter that was written on their behalf, a marriage record, you name it. There's so much stuff in the Freedmen's Bureau, and it's freely and widely available on Family Search. That you might actually have to go page by page in the municipality that your family lived in order to unearth information. So I highly suggest check out the Freedmen's Bureau, look at the descriptive guide so you know what's available for the area that your family lived in during Reconstruction, and perhaps maybe you might break through that brick wall yourself.